Palazzolo, Pro Football Focus senior analyst who joins us. Do you think Tony Romo has any chance to get a Hall of Fame induction?
I think there's a chance. I would probably lean no, though. I think Romo probably lands in the proverbial Hall of the Very Good. And I do think because postseason moments do matter so much, the fact that Eli's even being considered, I think that's going to end up working against Romo because he just doesn't have it.
Who do you think was a better quarterback, Eli or Romo?
I mean, I think throw for throw, Romo was a better quarterback. I do think that the postseason moments do matter, and they certainly will matter with the voters. But throw for throw, if you're just evaluating how well they played, yeah, Romo, I think, was better from start to finish more than Eli. Eli had some high peaks, though, that were really, really good, including the Super Bowl runs.
But do we overestimate playoff success? Like that seems to be that can decide whether you're in or not. But do we not give as much importance to the regular season with some of these quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mean, I think the postseason stuff does matter, though. I mean, we're talking about the most important position at sports, and even everything we do at PFF is quantifying and all that stuff. And I'll acknowledge there's something else when it comes to the postseason. There's something else that like separates Tom Brady and separates guys that do execute the way they do in the postseason. So maybe we overrate it a little bit, but that's where Phillip Rivers and Tony Romo and those guys are going to end up probably losing out a little bit.
Oh, so you don't think Phillip Rivers will go into the Hall of Fame?
The more I thought about it, I was thinking no. I mean, I really think I've got this like top 5 in my head, right? Top 5 of your era. And if you're in that, top 4 or 5, it feels like you should be in the Hall of Fame. Rivers, top 8 type of guy. Matt Ryan, top 8 type of guy. Eli, honestly, outside of the top 8 or 10, even in his era. Romo's probably a top 8 guy in his era. So to me, they're just on the outside looking in.
Can you get into the Hall of Fame now as a quarterback without a Super Bowl appearance?
Yeah, I think you can. Appearance would be tough without an appearance, because I'm thinking, Marino at least made it to the Super Bowl, but everybody watched Marino and said, okay, this is the best quarterback in the league for a big chunk of his career. So, I mean, technically you can, but it's going to be really difficult because the best quarterbacks usually at least make it to a Super Bowl and usually at least win at least one of them.
We reached out to you with the best and worst backup quarterback situations here. Given the news with the Colts, now it looks like Carson Wentz is on course to start week 1 for the Colts against the Seahawks. So I don't know if that changes your backup quarterback situation or not there, but let's start with the good backup quarterback situations right now.
Yeah, so I look at teams that have guys that I would consider, low-end starters that are sitting there as backups. So the Raiders have Marcus Mariota. If Marcus Mariota, he's not great. He didn't become that franchise quarterback that everybody maybe was hoping, but Mariota's the best backup in the NFL right now. We might not see a massive drop off if Derek Carr got hurt. I think Case Keenum with the Browns, a guy that could come in if Baker Mayfield got hurt, could come in, run that offense, especially with the way Kevin Stefanski calls plays. And you have to highlight Jameis down in New Orleans, right? Whoever loses in the Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston battle there, the other guy becomes one of the better backups in the entire league. So I think the Saints might not know who their starter is, but they'll at least know that they've got one of the best backups.
Wait, so they have 2 high-end backups.
Yeah.
But low-end starters.
That's right.
Okay.
The question was best backups, right?
Okay.
So the Saints,
all right.
So the Saints win in that game.
How about
I have faith that Jameis could be a pretty good starter still.
If I give you Carson Wentz or you can have Jameis together, who would you take?
Oh, man. I would probably lean Carson Wentz, and that's because I do think he'll bounce back from last year's disaster. But Jameis is it's interesting. You can run the ball with Taysom, and I have a ton of faith in Jameis, but he needs better playmakers than what they have down in New Orleans.
Dolphins with Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, so I look at Brissett again, a guy that Chris Ballard was essentially in Indianapolis dealing with just Jacoby Brissett. He was kind of forced into the starting lineup twice in his career. I don't think Jacoby Brissett's a guy you want as a starter, but if you need to win 4 or 5 games, I think Brissett's, a good solid option. So Miami, could be good there with Brissett as their backup.
All right, the bad backup quarterback situation.
So I'm going to start with the teams that have 2 of the elite quarterbacks. You've got Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City and Russell Wilson in Seattle. So if Chad Henne had to take over in Kansas City, he did that in the playoffs last year. Had a couple good throws, but some disastrous ones, almost threw the game away. I don't have a ton of faith in Chad Henne take it over in Kansas City. And then Geno Smith right now, the top backup in Seattle. I think that offense completely changes if it goes from Russ to Geno Smith. I also think the Ravens have a massive question mark. Trace McSorley, Tyler Huntley as the backups. They've both shown flashes, but again, I think the drop off from a Lamar Jackson to whoever the Ravens would trot out there, likely McSorley, I think would be tough for the Ravens.
What do you think about the Cowboys situation?
And so Garrett Gilbert right now, the top backup. We just saw the Hall of Fame game. Wasn't the prettiest thing the other night, whether it was Garrett Gilbert or Ben DiNucci. Yeah, so Gilbert again had some flashes against the Steelers a couple years ago against their really good defense. But yeah, the drop off, it'll be steeper than what they had last year. Andy Dalton is one of the better backups in the league if Justin Fields takes over. But yeah, the Cowboys having just Garrett Gilbert right now would be a big question mark.
I can't understand what the Jets are doing. And granted, I've said that quite a few times in my career, but you have James Morgan and Mike White behind a rookie quarterback. This is crying out for a Nick Foles or an Andy Dalton, where you have that experienced person, a Case Keenum, somebody who has experience, who's non-threatening to that quarterback, who can help them with, the nuance of playing that position.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the Jets have made a lot of really smart moves, but the quarterback room is definitely a questionable one. Maybe they just grab Josh McCown back from television, right? Just bring him back as that guy that's in the QB room all the time. But I think it's a really good point. Zach Wilson needs to learn. James Morgan's never taken a snap. Mike White hasn't played well in his preseason action. So Jets are making a lot of smart moves, but could definitely use a veteran backup there.
I'm going to throw out some numbers here with Romo and Eli. Losing seasons as a starter. Romo, 0. Eli, 5. Seasons throwing more than 15 interceptions. Romo, 2. Eli, 8. Career completion percentage. Romo, 65%. Eli, 60%.
Yeah, I mean, Romo was a better quarterback, So the tricky part here, and I think a healthy internal debate, if you were running an NFL team, would be, would you actually want the Giants run? Would you actually take that, or would you want the Cowboys run? Would you want a quarterback who is a volatile, and I use volatile in the terms of you could be great or he could be terrible. That was Eli, right? Volatility, but the peaks are so good. 2011, Eli was so good that they won a Super Bowl, and he carried them. It wasn't like 07. He carried them in 2011. Do you want those peaks? Do you want those 2 Super Bowls, but a bunch of years where you don't make the playoffs? Or do you want to, get it on the green every single year like the Cowboys did with Tony Romo and just kind of see what happens? I think it's an honest question that doesn't have a great answer. And I think depending on your perspective, give me the 2 championships like Eli brought us versus give me the consistency that Romo brought us, but we never got, to the championship games. I think it's an honest and fair question. But yeah, Romo, throw for throw, again, was definitely a better quarterback than Eli Manning.
Good to talk to you again, Steve. Thanks for joining us as always.
You got it. Thanks, Dan.
Steve Palazzolo, Pro Football Focus senior analyst, host of Pro Football Focus NFL podcast.